Members, we are back in session. Members, a brief announcement that today is the last day to notice intent to remove a bill from the inactive file, and it is also the last day to amend bills on the Assembly floor prior to June 3rd. Business on the daily file. Second reading, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2125, 2133, 2139, 2140, 2183, 2197, 2222, 2243, 2251, 2282, 2298, 2308, 2322, 2386, 2399, 2405, 2424, 2425, 2428, 2439, 2441, 2454, 2460, 2467, 2480, 2493, 2523, 2524, 2536, 2586, 2588, 2616, 2629, 2678, 2722, 2730, 2777, 2818, 2821, 2822, 2844, 2873, 2895, 1550, 1561, 1583, 1585, 1653, 1664, 1673, 1674, 1676, 1677, 1695, 1696, 1704, 1721, 1726, 1742, 1747, 1751, 1762, 1763, 1770, 1778, 1792, 1795, 1878, 1890, 1965, 1978, 1995, 2000, 2004, 2009, 2079, 2087, 2121, 2182, 1903, 2653, 1588, 1672, 1754, 2085, 2016 with amendments, 2077 with amendments, 2044 with amendments, 2530 with amendments, 2729 with amendments, 2757 with amendments, 1872 with amendments, and Assembly Bill 2534 with amendments.
All bills will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Members, as of the moment, we have 115 bills we are hoping to take up today. Please be mindful of that number for your presentations on the floor. We are going to start with amendments. Okay, members, we are going to take up amendments first, beginning with file item 109, AB 2724, for the purpose of amendment. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 2724 with amendments by Assemblymember Gatto.
Mr. Gatto on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we all know around here, our word is our bond. And these amendments reflect a commitment that I gave in the Consumer Protection and Privacy Committee to delay the implementation for the insurance requirement in this bill. These amendments were worked on with the assistance of the American Insurance Association, and they delay the implementation of this key section of the bill until 2020. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on these amendments and that the bill be sent, put back on file, or whatever the phrase is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gatto. No discussion on this item. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. All right, members. File item 112, AB 1934. For the purpose of amendment, clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 1934 with amendments by Assemblymember Santiago.
Mr. Santiago on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 1934 creates a new program modeled after California's residential density bonus program. These amendments are product of a large stakeholder group meeting that my office conducted and promised after the measure was heard both in local government and housing committees. Thank you. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Santiago. Seeing no discussion or debate on the amendments and without objection, we may take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bills out to print and back on file. File item 113, AB 2208, for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 2208 with amendments by Assemblymember Santiago.
Mr. Santiago again on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 2208 requires that when local governments update their housing element, they specifically consider existence on airspace as potential placement for affordable housing. These amendments are also part of a large stakeholders meeting, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. See no discussion or debate on the item. And without objection, we may take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bills out to print and back on file. Moving to file item 121, AB 2756, for the purpose of amendment. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 2756 with amendments by Assemblymember Thurman.
Mr. Thurman on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise to present amendments for AB 2756. These amendments reduce penalties involved for the participants that are governed by this bill. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on these amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Thurman. Seeing no discussion or debate on the amendments, and without objection, we may take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Amendments are adopted. Bills out to print and back on file. We are moving to file item 173, AB 2150. For the purpose of amendment, clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 2150 by Assemblymember Santiago, with amendments by Assemblymember Santiago.
Mr. Santiago.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill seeks to address child care and development services. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on the amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Santiago. Seeing no discussion or debate on the amendments, and without objection, we may take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bills out to print and back on file. File item 249, AB 2153. For the purpose of amendment, clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 2153 with amendments by Assemblymember Christina Garcia.
Ms. Garcia on the amendments.
AB 2153 amendments remove all opposition. The new language reflects extensive negotiations between all stakeholders. The bill will raise between $30 and $70 million a year to fund the cleanup of contamination caused by lead acid batteries throughout the state. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Allen, you're recognized.
I object to the amendments.
Mr. Allen's objecting to the amendments. Seeing no discussion on the item, we may take a roll call on the amendments. Clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. So on the amendments, AB 2153, all members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 42, noes 1. Amendments are adopted. Bills out to print and back on file. Pursuant to Assembly Rule 77.2, I am re-referring file item 249 AB 2153 by Ms. Garcia to the Environmental Safety and Toxics Materials Committee. Moving to file item 251, that's AB 2748 for the purpose of amendment. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 2748 with amendments by Assemblymember Gatto.
Mr. Gatto on the amendments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. These are technical yet substantive amendments that will trigger a 77.2 referral to Judiciary Committee. And I ask for your aye vote on these amendments so that this bill can be referred back to the Judiciary Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Gatto. Seeing no discussion or debate on the amendments, and without objection, we may take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print. And pursuant to Assembly Rule 77.2, I am re-referring file item 251 AB 2748 by Mr. Gatto to the Judiciary Committee. On Senate third reading, we're moving to file item 256. That's SB 443 for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 443 with amendments by Assemblymember Hadley.
Mr. Hadley on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I present for amendments Senate Bill 443 to take amendments in discussion with stakeholders and to get it back on the file. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. Seeing no discussion or debate on these amendments, and without objection, we may take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. Members, we are going to take up budget conferee bills up front. Starting with Mr. Obernolte, this is file item 141. File item 141. That's AB 1712. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1712 by Assemblymember Obernolte and Accolade in Child Care.
Mr. Obernolte, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. AB 1712 would allow child care agencies to contract with the Department of Education to accept electronic signatures. This would decrease record-keeping requirements for those agencies and lead to better outcomes for our children. This bill has received unanimous support so far in committee. I respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Obernolte. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 68, noes 0. The measure passes. Members, we are now moving to file item 148 by Mr. Ting. This is AB 1838. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1838 by Assemblymember Ting and others, and Accolade and Foster Children.
Mr. Ting.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 1838 allows foster youth who become parents and pregnant a slight increase to their monthly supplement from $411 to $688. As we all know, being a foster child is extraordinarily tough. Being a foster child who is ready to become a foster parent, we want to make sure that they get all the help that they deserve. This also allows them to get that supplement 6 months earlier during their pregnancy rather than only when the child is born, and is a slight increase to really help those living in the most dire poverty in our state. Respectfully ask for aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Ting. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 70, noes 0. Measure passes. All right, members, we're moving to file item 236 by Ms. Gonzalez. That is AB 1643. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1643 by Assemblymember Gonzalez and others, enact relating to employment.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, and members. AB 1643 will address two specific aspects of workers' compensation law to correct and prevent gender bias. First, this bill requires that an impairment rating for treatment of work-related breast cancer must not be less than the rating for prostate cancer. This is needed because the current disability rating for women who have had a mastectomy due to work-related breast cancer in California can be as low as 0% and only can be as high as 5%. Second, AB 1643 keeps primarily female conditions from being used against female workers, such as pregnancy and menopause. Reducing a woman's disability rating by 50% because she's pregnant or 40% because of menopause is obviously discriminatory. This bill got through this House last year on bipartisan support. I hope it does the same this year. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote, desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 55, noes 14. Measure passes. Back to the top of the file, members. We're going to pass and retain on file items 95 through 102. We're going to pass temporarily on file item 103. We are going to take up file item 104, AB 2167. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2167 by Assemblymember Shajian, enact relating to vehicles.
Mr. Shajian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to present AB 2167, which will address implementation issues to a bill passed last year concerning bandit tow truck drivers. We pulled this bill off consent so we could give ourselves more time to work on amendments. We have had many productive conversations with all stakeholders and getting closer to a resolution. I will continue to work on this bill in the Senate. Respectfully ask for aye vote.
Mr. Lackey, you're recognized.
Yeah, I know we're under a time crunch, but I want everybody to know that this is more critical than you may imagine. In my experience as a Highway Patrol Sergeant, I actually have arrested people who are transporting other people under the guise of being taxi drivers. And so the problem of impaired driving is very, very significant, and this could be a life-saving measure. So I hope you will go with an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lackey. Seeing no additional discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 69, no 0. Measure passes. We're going to pass and retain on file item 105, 106, 107, and 108. We've dispensed with file item 109. We're also passing and retaining on file item 110. That moves us to file item 111, AB 1842 by Mr. Levine. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1842 by Assemblymember Levine, enact relating to water pollution.
Mr. Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 1842 closes a loophole in the enforcement of water pollution laws. This bill has received bipartisan support as we continue to work with stakeholders. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 59, no 6. The measure passes. We've dispensed with 112 and 113. File items 114 through 119, pass and retain. File item 120, AB 2261 by Mr. Hernandez. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2261 by Assemblymember Roger Hernandez, an act relating to employment.
Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. Speaker and members, AB 2261 will strengthen California's critical employment retaliation provisions by authorizing the Labor Commissioner to independently cite an employer for retaliation. Currently, an employee must come forward and file a claim with the Labor Commissioner. This can be a particular barrier in retaliation cases since the employee complaint model forces an employee who has already been retaliated against to come forward and individually complain, risking further retaliation by the employer. Opponents have raised concerns that this bill would change the standards, process, or statutes of limitations for these retaliation claims. This is not our intention. We only intend to allow the Labor Commissioner to issue citations for retaliations under the same rules and with the same due process rights as currently exist for employee complaints. We are working with the opponents on amendments to be taken in the Senate to clarify this point. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Mr. Gallagher.
Mr. Speaker, members, I rise in opposition to this bill. In my own personal situation, I have seen, if I trusted that the Board of Labor Enforcement was actually staying within its jurisdictional bounds and not going outside of those bounds, as I have seen in many cases in my district, where the clear letter of the regulation is being overstepped, where the clear letter of case law is being overstepped in order to penalize employers for what are not violations of labor law. I can't stand here and allow to give them even more power, even more discretion to go after employers and businesses in our state who are following the law. And I've seen this with several businesses in my own district. So I don't think we should be continuing to give even more power to regulators who are not accountable to their constituents like you and I are, to give them even more power when there are already abuses of that power that they have already. So what I would ask is that you would not let this bill get through today, and that we would continue to hold regulators and agencies of this government accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just for clarification, I wouldn't vote aye on this bill even if I did trust the Division of Labor. Quite simply, this bill would allow the division to commence an investigation, issue a citation, or bring an action against any employer of any size under any law in its jurisdiction without first receiving a complaint from the employee. Thus, simply put, the division would have carte blanche to decide to initiate an action whenever it wants against whomever it wants for any reason. California is already ranked as one of the worst states, if not the worst state to do business in the United States. This would only make it worse. I urge a no vote.
Mr. Thurman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise in support of this bill and urge your support. You've heard an argument today that says you should vote against this because this process, like every other process, is not perfect. That might be the case, but we must take every step that we can to protect against rampant retaliation that occurs against employees. I urge your support of this measure.
Thank you, Mr. Thurman. Ms. Melendez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've been hearing about rampant retaliation, and I would say that this bill encourages retaliation against businesses. If there's no complaint from an employee, what reason would you have then to go and issue this citation? What would that be based on? Could it be based on the fact that there are political differences between the labor board and that particular business? You're encouraging this sort of behavior. I urge a no vote.
Seeing no, yes. Members, if you'd like to be recognized, please raise your microphones during the debate so I can see them. Mr. Harper, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. This bill is yet another cause of businesses and productive individuals leaving this state. When we have this problem over and over again with employers moving from this state to others, this bill would serve as yet another reason to chase the most productive and the employers away.
Seeing no additional discussion or debate, Mr. Hernandez, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to quickly address some of the concerns, this bill is not changing the standards, the process, the statute of limitations for which the Labor Commissioner needs to rely on before filing a complaint or starting a process leading to penalty. I would liken a police officer that is driving down the street and witnesses a person speeding through a red light and crashes into somebody. And then the police officer turns around and says, victim that you've just been crashed into, I can't do anything about what I've just witnessed unless you go and file a complaint, even though they've seen it. The Labor Commissioner has witnessed and has been able to identify retaliation in the workplace, and today does not have the power unless it's done through the complaint process. So this gives the Labor Commissioner the opportunity to cite where there is true findings of violations of law. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 41, noes 30. The measure passes. We've dispensed with file item 121. 122, pass and retain. We're moving to file item 123, AB 2622. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2622 by Assemblymember Nazarian and others, and act relating to taxation.
Mr. Nazarian, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 2622, which is a result of over a dozen meetings between assessors, airline industry representatives, and legislative staff, takes a modest approach by extending for 3 years the existing lead county system and aircraft valuation methodology. This bill also codifies procedures that will streamline required filing requirements for the airline industry, reduce workload, and decrease multiple layers of inquiries and problems. Absent a uniform codified methodology and the lead county system, each county and airline would have to deal with multiple filings and audits, face assessment uncertainty, and potentially increase administrative costs. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Nazarian. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 44, noes 20. The measure passes. File items 124 through 126, pass and retain. File item 127, AB 2373. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2373 by Assemblymember Gray, and act relating to the Merced Irrigation District and making an appropriation therefore.
Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. AB 2373 appropriates $45,000 to the Merced Irrigation District to provide water and irrigation assistance to small communal farms in Merced County. In my district, dozens of Hmong refugee families have come together with modest means to share the costs and labor of farming. Unfortunately, these refugees lack sufficient capital and credit to invest in their farms. Water pumps have been mended with whatever material were at hand, which has significantly cut the efficiency of the irrigation. This costs energy, this costs money. This bill would do a lot to help these communal farms in our community and encourage the irrigation district to make some much-needed investments. I would respectfully ask for your aye vote today.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Members, this is a 54-vote bill. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Mr. Gray moves call. File item 128 is AB 1794. The clerk will read.